Oh, hello. Professor Flint here. I'll just put my cup of cordial down. It's that time again where we specifically talk in detail about a particular fossil. And this week I want us to look at this fossil here. It's a skull, right? It's a skull of a Sthenurine. So what exactly is a Sthenurine? And how would you work it out? How would you work out what this animal is if you were the first person to have found this? So we're going to have a look at some of those questions to begin with, because these are the kinds of questions that paleontologists ask when they find something for the first time. So here are some important questions. Where was it found? Where was it found, and what do we know about the area in which it was found? This was found in Australia, and indeed we find skulls like this in quite a few places around Australia, and a few different sizes. But this is not a small skull, right? It's not a small skull like, say, like a cat skull, or a tiny little dinosaur skull, or a bird skull, or some of those little things. It is quite a large skull. So when does it come from? Well, some of the most recent versions of this come from about 30,000, 40,000 years ago, within that time frame. So, so where it was found here in Australia, across Australia, 30 to 40,000 years ago, makes it interesting because we know that there were people living here. Aboriginal Australians have been living here for a very long time, and so would have seen living versions of these animals. How fascinating is that? If only we could go back and ask them, like 30, 40,000 years, or see them. So, what else? Oh, what are its features? What are the features of the skull, and what might be the features of the rest of it? And what do we know about other similar animals? Animals from the past and animals from now. So let's just have a look at it for a minute. I'll move it a bit closer. So you can see from this that it doesn't have a long snout, does it? It's got a short face. It's got these teeth at the front, and it's got these teeth here, okay? Teeth at the front, these teeth here. And its eyes, nose, quite a big nose, well, a big space for a nose. Sure. It reminds me a little bit of a koala skull, but it's quite a bit bigger than a koala skull. So, what is a Sthenurine? What do we know about it from asking all of these questions and looking for the answers of where it was found, when it was alive, having a look at its features, comparing it with similar fossils from the past, but as well comparing it with animals that are alive today, if there are any that we can compare it with? Well, here are some things we know about Sthenurines. Sthenurines were kangaroos, a kind of kangaroo, but instead of a kangaroo with a long snout, it's a short-faced kangaroo. Picture, if you will, imagine a koala head on top of a red kangaroo. Imagine what that would look like. That's kind of, possibly, sort of, what we're looking at here. A short-faced kangaroo, and quite a large short-faced kangaroo. And we know that it's a kangaroo because we have found in other parts to where we found this, other parts of the fossils, other parts of this animal with the heads. So this is why we do research and we share what we know with other paleontologists. So they went extinct, as I said a bit earlier, about 30 to 40,000 years ago. Short face. So what's it going to eat? So those teeth there and those teeth there, they are the teeth of a herbivore, an animal that eats plants. But what kind of plants would an animal with a short face eat? Because here's the thing. If you picture yourself putting your face onto the ground like that, to eat some grass, what's one thing you can see? You can see the grass because it has forward-facing eyes. You can see the grass. What can't you see? You can't see predators sneaking up on you. So you're not going to bury your face in the ground, are you? Because it's too great a risk. So you're going to keep your head up. And so if you're a kangaroo that's, more than 2 meters tall, by the way. Did I mention that? Yeah. Kangaroo more than 2 meters. Maybe some getting close to 3-ish, but very tall kangaroo, bigger than reds and greys that are alive now. So short face, you're going to be standing upright. And they had, it turns out, quite large arms compared with other kangaroos. So you're going to be standing up and looking around, and you're going to be eating things that are around this sort of level, or maybe, if your arms can go up, even higher. So what are the things that might be at this level and at this level that a herbivore will eat? Yeah. So leaves, things like salt bush, those kinds of things. But I want to go into a bit more detail. But first, a bit more tea. A bit more detail of what we know. One of the enduring features of kangaroos, modern day kangaroos of course, reds and greys in particular, but wallabies and things, is that they hop. Would a kangaroo, more than 2 meters tall, with a short face and large arms, would it hop? It is a fascinating question that paleontologists have been looking into for many, many years. Maybe, though maybe not. And as I say, it's an area of ongoing research. According to one paper that looked at more than 140 different skeletons from kangaroos and related species, wallabies, the Sthenurines, they think, walked upright on 2 legs. Just moving my notes there. Good. And they suggest the evidence comes from all over the Sthenurines anatomy, which is why it's been important that it's not just the skull that we found. Their teeth are much more suited to browsing on trees and bushes than nibbling on grass, and in the way that modern roos do. And that suggests the ability to stand upright on 2 legs and reach for the branches, which kind of makes it difficult to be able to hop. So what else can we think? What else do we know? I mean, it's long been thought that short-faced kangaroos, with their very large jaws here, and teeth, the shortened muzzles, the shortened noses, it's long been thought that they were able to eat bulky foods, fully matured leaves, stems, and possibly even branches. And what some recent research has shown is that this is a very strong skull with very strong cheekbones and able to withstand chewing from side to side. So chewing and gnawing on great chewing capacity, allowing it to be able to chew on branches, not just the leaves. And this tells us that it would have had quite a diverse diet when it was alive. A diet that would have come in handy and would certainly have allowed them to eat more things than what other things could at the time. As I mentioned before, it's when you have a look, it first up, until you start looking into some of the really fine details, it's reminiscent of a koala skull, rather than a modern-day kangaroo. The other thing, of course, is that a short-faced kangaroo has less stress across its skull during a bite on one side than a koala, due to its broader forehead. So it has this broader forehead than a kangaroo. So again, it's that capacity to chew things and chew with great strength things stronger than leaves, making it a much better chewer of things. The strong skulls, remember this, the strong skulls of the short-faced kangaroos were probably a key feature in their ability to utilize food that other animals couldn't eat. It's a very specialized feeding mechanism in terms of the shape of their skull and their massive jaw that we don't really see in any other kinds of kangaroos, either prehistoric or modern. Though, here's the thing. We do see something similar in pandas. And that's an example of what we call convergent evolution. Convergent evolution is that thing where you have two animals that look similar, that live in other parts of the world, but they have similar features because they live in a similar habitat. So, for example, a shark has that fish shape, but so does a dolphin. A shark is a fish, a dolphin is a mammal. And for those of you that saw last week's Fossil of the Week, when we looked at ichthyosaurs, an ichthyosaur is the reptile equivalent. So you've got a mammal, a fish, and a reptile, all looking similar. So you've got a panda and a kangaroo with similar kinds of head structure and the way that it moves and the way that it eats its food. So, nothing like that alive. One of the other interesting things that paleontologists have found in terms of its diet, did you realize that when you eat something, depending on what you're eating, of course, sometimes that thing will leave very fine microscopic scratch marks on your teeth. Very fine microscopic scratch marks on your teeth. So scientists can work out if the fossil is of sufficient quality, they can use those scratch marks to help identify the kind of things that the animal was last chewing on or recently chewing on. It's a thing that's allowed us, for example, to work out that, and these are some Sthenurine skulls found on the Nullarbor Plain, where it appears that they were chewing on saltbush. Now, saltbush isn't something that you reach up to get, it's something you reach across to get, if you're this size of kangaroo. So, there's a lot of people out there doing jigsaw puzzles at the moment because, well, jigsaw puzzles are cool. But my favourite jigsaw puzzles are these. A one-piece jigsaw puzzle where you have to look at and talk to other people that might have the other pieces. And those people might be somewhere in the world other than where you are. There might be people at your university, in the laboratory. But this is what is so cool about paleontology. It is taking a thing like this, and we talked at the beginning about looking at its teeth, the shape of the skull, all of those things help us understand the way that this particular kangaroo, short-faced kangaroo, lived its life. And that's probably all for me for now, but thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next week. And don't forget, as always, if you have a particular fossil that you'd like to be Fossil of the Week, we'll have a look at it, because you, our patrons, are the people that make what we do possible. So thank you, and cheerio!